Welcome back to our first webinar of 2023. We have a new year and a new adventure. So we're going to be talking about how you're going to get ready for the Camino. So let me see. Okay, so today we're going to just take you through a summary of the webinar. We'll tell you about what we do, how you might be able to get Camino ready, and then a few fitness and route tips as well. So actually, as he's here now, maybe Jeremy wants to tell us a little bit about what we do and then a little bit about our routes as well, and then we'll launch into everything else.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah, and welcome everybody. I think we have people from Phoenix and Toronto. I've just seen popped up on the message there, so it's great. It's always exciting to talk to people from around the world, and we provide Camino to people from around the world. So, and what do we do? So at CaminoWays, we offer walking and cycling routes, tours on the Camino de Santiago. Most people who will do a tour with us is self-guided. For that, we will provide the accommodation, luggage transfer. You have all the information as well online for your tour. And we also do guided tours where you can book onto one of our guided tours. These are usually, people from all over the world, up to about 20 people with a guide on specific dates, walking specific routes. And we'll have a look at some of the routes later. And all the dates for our guided tours can be found on our website, CaminoWays.com. Plus the accommodation we use would be at a standard level. That's up to 3-star. There are hotels which are with private rooms en suite. So you can have a choice of double rooms. That's 1 bed, 2 people, twin rooms, two people, or single rooms. But they're all en suite. They're all private. They're all in lovely hotels. The standard will vary from place to place because you are walking through a country and through villages, through towns, through cities. So the accommodation does vary, but it's all fantastic. Luggage transfer, people love us for this. So when you're walking, we'll pick up your main bag. You carry a little day pack and we'll bring it to your next hotel. So when you walk into your next hotel, it'll be there waiting for you at the lobby. So that takes the kind of pressure off of not packing lots of things you feel you would need. So you can pack up to a 20 kilo bag and that'll be transferred every day. And then we have a 24-hour assistance phone, and it's an assistance phone for any issues that you may have en route, whether it might be a bag not turning up or you might have an issue with the booking. Generally, it's for assistance for things like that, which is something in your booking that may not be going right or some issues that you might be having. And that's manned 24/7. Usually by somebody who speaks absolutely fluent English, but also will speak the local language, whether you're in Spain or Portugal or France, so they can actually talk to other people to get things sorted. So, and it's usually sorted very quickly. We work with individuals and groups. We can, if you have a group of people you're considering bringing on the Camino, whether it's a student group, a business group, a group of friends, a group of family group even, we can tailor itineraries for you. And a group was usually from 10 people. We can add guides, we can add airport transfers. There's lots of things we can do for groups, but generally people are individuals, and individuals are not walking on your own, but coming with 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Some people do walk the Camino on its own, and it is very safe for that. The Camino is incredibly safe for people walking on their own, and always lots of other people walking with you. And the camaraderie of the Camino is amazing. You'll always meet people. Even if you're walking with friends, you'll still meet other people. So in essence, that's what we do. We have a lot of information on our website, CaminoWays.com, over 800 pages, FAQs. Hopefully it'll answer lots and lots and lots of your questions. If you are creating an itinerary or asking us to create one for you, do that and we'll get back to you. And then we'll help you make any changes. And if you have questions, you can email us or call us, or you can look through our website to see if the answer is there. So that's it.
Thank you, Jeremy. And obviously, if you're thinking about walking the Camino, it's not just one trail or one route. We actually have quite a lot of routes, which again, Jeremy, if you'd like to tell people about them.
Yeah, so you see a map in front of you here, and you can see Santiago de Compostela in northwest Spain. So that is the destination that everybody kind of finishes at on the Camino. Why there? I mean, historically, the remains of St. James the Apostle is reputed to be buried there in the cathedral. And so way back to medieval days, even people started walking the Santiago de Compostela, touching the coffin, and legend have it that would absolve all your sins. And this kind of really has progressed through the ages as a pilgrim route. And because then from that, people are coming from all parts of Europe and even Africa, northwest, east, to walk the route. Therefore, plenty of routes have popped up. The most popular route being the one in yellow, which is the Française, the Camino Française, the French way. Why is it called the French way? Well, it starts in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is just across the Pyrenees in France. And then immediately on the first day, you'll walk over the Pyrenees into Spain and spend the rest of the average about 40 days walking the 760 odd kilometers into Santiago de Compostela. The beauty of the Camino is that you can break it down kind of into 5, 6, 7 days walking, because you usually start and finish in a small town or city. And in most cases, after 5, 6, 7 days, you will enter or leave a small town or city, which makes the access easier. On the French way, the most popular is the last 100, Sarria Santiago. This can be incredibly busy in September, so it may be worth looking at something else. So what would you look at? The second most popular way would be the Portuguese way. Traditionally, those people coming up from Lisbon up to Porto and finishing in Santiago on the coastal way. The route from Lisbon to Porto is not well marked, not well walked, but it's a fascinating, fantastic route. But for the people who are looking for something a bit easier, anything from Porto to Santiago is amazing. So that's pretty much 2 weeks, or you can split it in half by starting just on the Portuguese border in Vigo or Bayona and walking 6, 7 days into Santiago de Compostela. That way is mostly coastal. So you get best of both worlds there, having the Camino, experiencing 2 countries with Portugal and Spain, experiencing the culture of the coast, and then cutting in towards Santiago and experiencing the Galician countryside. So it's really amazing. The next would be the Norte, the Camino del Norte, or the Northern Way from San Sebastian, working along the northern coast of Spain, going through amazing cities like Bilbao, Santander, Oviedo, really amazing route. Bit more challenging just because distances per day, but it's a fantastic route. A lot of it on the coast through these amazing cities that, culinary wise is one of the best areas in the world for restaurants, for food, fantastic people. And then it cuts down south for Santiago de Compostela. The Primitivo as well, going from Oviedo down to Lugo to Santiago's, would be quite a traditional route, not very well walked. So again, quite challenging, a few more hills and that than the other routes. But again, it's a fascinating route if you're looking for something for an alternative. And then we have the lazy way, as I call it, the English way. And it comes from Ferrol in the north down to Santiago. It's only about 109 kilometers long. But generally, people would have sailed from Ireland and England, landed there, and then walked the rest of the way to Santiago de Compostela. So taking a massive big shortcut and keeping themselves off their feet. But the English way is still really good. Walking from Ferrol down to Santiago, another route that is well worth investigating. You see the Via de la Plata coming from Seville, right in southern Spain, walking up to Salamanca and cutting across. Is a massive route. I can't remember. I think it's 1,300 kilometers long. So it really takes a long time to do. We only do the last 100 kilometers of that from a town called Orense, working up the last 100 kilometers into Santiago de Compostela. This is a stunning route. Orense is a spa town. It goes through river gorges, across some really rural countryside, and I think is well worth walking because it's a fascinating route. And not many people actually walk it, but it's definitely a highlight for me. Mm-hmm. So in essence, that's what we do. We also do the Via Francigena in Italy. So that's the Camino equivalent to Rome. Historically, that starts in Canterbury in the UK, works its way all across France, down through Italy, finishing in Rome. We only do the route from Tuscany to Rome, but it is 4 weeks walking, or again, you can break it into weekly sections. But Tuscany, amazing. It's one of the top 3 places people want to visit. It's always on people's bucket list, and walking through Tuscany is incredible. So we have all the hotspots there, like Siena, Rome itself, Monte di Girone, but really amazing walking. So that's on our website as well if you want to have a look at that.
That's great, Jeremy. Thanks very much for sharing that with us. So when we're looking at, if you're hoping to do the Camino in 2023, it's sometimes very useful to figure out what's going on in the world that might help influence your travel and your plans. And there are some great ones for the Camino. So solo travel, if you were thinking you wanted to do the Camino alone, maybe you're a bit worried about going alone, solo travel is a huge trend at the moment. So it's just more common to just pick up yourself and go on an adventure by yourself. Of course, you could be walking alone, but you're never going to be alone on the Camino. You're going to be meeting pilgrims as you go, meeting locals. So it's a really great way to just discover yourself, for want of a better word, and go completely at your own pace, see and do everything you want to do at your own pace. So solo travel is definitely here to stay. Obviously, is an appeal to group tours, but self-guided solo travel is just, it's here to stay, and it's wonderful. Again, we also have active travel. The Camino is an active trip. Whether you're walking or cycling, you are going to be exercising constantly. So that's another great reason to do the Camino. It's a healthy alternative, and it's also quite eco-friendly, you know, just given the planet. So it's good to look into that as well. You probably are very aware that you can walk and cycle the Camino. What you might not be aware of is that you can also do the Camino on an e-bike. So electric escapes are getting more popular every year. And speaking as someone who has cycled on an e-bike in a hot country in the summer, it's useful if you just need that extra bit of assistance while you're cycling down. And the last trend I just want to draw your attention to is multi-country travel. Jeremy mentioned the Portuguese route and the Camino Frances. They both start in a different country and take you into Spain. So you can experience, if it's the Portuguese route, you can experience the culture, the food, the people, the language of Portugal, and then enter into Spain. So you get the best of both worlds with the multi-country travel as well. So these are just some trends that it's always good to keep an eye out, and they might help form your choice of destination as well. And we're going to pass you back to Jeremy in a minute, but we've got some routes that are we think are going to be great for 2023. The first one will have our routes into Santiago and our Camino del Norte and our Camino Portuguese Coastal. And Jeremy might have something you'd like to expand on for those, but these ones we think are going to be great for 2023.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's a good list there. Most people doing the Camino, oddly want to finish in Santiago de Compostela. Now, whether they do one of the full routes, walking 5-6 weeks, or they want to do a week, most people only have a week's holiday. So they kind of think, well, what do I do and how do I do it? And, I really want to finish in Santiago. So to get the certificate, you just need your passport stamped over 100 kilometers. So what a lot of people will do is they'll fly to Santiago de Compostela, they'll transfer out to one of the starting points, and then walk the 100 kilometers back into Santiago and then pick up their certificate. We can organize airport transfers, or you can organize that yourself, and then obviously we do all the hotels and luggage transfer back. So the ones we kind of looked at before on the map, there was Lugo's there on the Primitivo way. And that kind of matches up with the route from Sarria to Santiago, which would be on the French way, one of definitely the most popular routes. And Vigo to Santiago as well, which is on the Portuguese coastal way. So that's starting south of Santiago, working up and cutting inland back into the city. They're great routes, highly accessible to fly into Santiago de Compostela. You will probably have to fly through an international hub to get there. And you would return fly out of there as well. So, I think definitely it's what people, when they do it for the first time, come and do, or maybe they might have done one of the 100 kilometers, they'll come back and do another one. Great services and hotel options on these routes as well, because so many people walk them. So if you're looking for something else, or you've done the 100 kilometers before, or you're not that interested in Santiago de Compostela, there's the Camino del Norte in the Basque Country. And San Sebastian to Bilbao is a fantastic route, mostly coastal, great access into both San Sebastian and Bilbao with airports. It's 5 or 6 or 7 days walking, depending on how you want to design your itinerary. And the food's amazing up here. The culture, Basque culture, incredible, quite Celtic as well. So it's really, definitely one of my favorites. San Sebastian, I think, is one of the densely populated, one of the most densely populated cities for Michelin star restaurants. And it's actually really good value as well. So if you're into food, I would definitely recommend going and having a look at this. Then we have the Camino Portuguese coastal way. I would recommend walking from Porto if you have 2 weeks, or even just walking from Porto for a week up to Bayona, and then maybe coming back and walking another week from Bayona into Santiago. So what do you get on this? I mean, first of all, you get that northern Portuguese coastal culture, which is really incredible, quite rural. and quite traditional. A lot of seafood. If you're into seafood, this is definitely something for you. Porto is one of the most amazing cities in Europe. It's also one of the cheapest cities in Europe, so you can really kind of enjoy yourself and get around. A lot of the old centers are all amazing. The towns you stay in along the way are very traditional fishing towns, but also have a little bit of tourism in them as well. Not much, very local tourism. That is building a bit, but very slowly. And there's lots and lots of options on these routes as well. So it's a really good option. So there are some examples of the routes that are kind of, I suppose, trending, if you like to use that word, this year so far. Yep. Somebody's just asked, do we provide the credentials for stamping? We don't. But there's what we do is we encourage people to go to their local St. James's Society, and you can buy the passports from there, and you're supporting your local St. James's Society. If you don't have a local St. James Society, you can buy them online, or you can pick them up when you arrive in Santiago de Compostela in lots of places, in the airport, in the post offices, and lots of shops will sell you the passport. They're very cheap as well. But I would encourage that you support your local St. James's Society. Somebody else has just asked quickly, can you find albergues and hotels while walking the Camino? Do you reckon pre-booking for June 23? Lots of people walk the Camino many different ways. A lot of people use us where we pre-book all the hotels, so it takes all that pressure off. It's very difficult to say. It depends on which route you're walking as well. Sarria Santiago can be very challenging to find hostels while you're walking. Most hostels you can't pre-book, so that is a problem. Hotels, you can go online and find them and book them yourself directly as well. But then you have what you do with your luggage and how do you look after your luggage. But if you're happy with carrying all your own stuff, it does make it a lot easier. So my advice is do a lot of research. There's some great apps out there that'll help you. John Beerley's guidebook as well is going to have all the hostels named as well. But it's definitely doable. Most people who do the Camino will do it through the hostels that don't use people like us at all, and that's absolutely fine. And it adds so much to the Camino. It's great. And the burgers are amazing places to stay. Plus, they're also amazing places to stop for lunch, because most of them will have little cafes where you can stop for lunch along the way. So people who do book the hotels will still have a bit of an albergue experience while walking the Camino.
Yeah, great. And just on the passport as well, I was recently in Porto in the cathedral, and they had a stall and people were lining up buying their passports. So they're very easy to find when you're in a Camino starting point. So just a little bit on fitness. Obviously, if you are hoping to challenge yourself to the Camino, you will have to do some training. Now, we're not saying you have to go out and run 5 marathons. I wouldn't even try to run one, but just a little bit of training just for yourself, like practice carrying a bag. There's a lot you can do gradually over time. We recently compiled, we'll say, a Camino Fitness Bible. You may have seen it already. It's been on our website just for a few days, and we've shared it online. But within that, we have compiled all of our fitness information. So our 6-month training plan, some common injuries you might get, some stretching tips, and links to our fitness ebook as well, with nutrition tips and everything. There's a lot of experts that have contributed and people's experience. So it's a great starting point for your training for the Camino. And yeah, so I would recommend, if you are on our website, this is what it looks like. And of course, you ask any questions you want about the fitness, and we'll get back to you as well. So it is a really good starting point. There's a lot of information there. And yes, the most important thing, I'm sure Jeremy might have something to add about fitness now, but the most important thing about fitness, and while it might seem intimidating, is just starting. Even just going for a little walk out for 20 minutes, you can start from anywhere and your fitness will improve and your body will handle it. So yeah, the hardest part for anything in life is to just begin. And then
yeah, I mean, absolutely, and that's all correct. And there is a lot of information on the website and plans and links to different plans. I mean, essentially, anyone can go out and walk 20 kilometers in a day. It's really the consecutive days that's going to get you when you're walking. So the best really thing to do is, as Sarah just said, is to start. How do I start? Well, start within your capacity. If it's a kilometer, if it's 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, start going out and walking that distance, and add to it every day. And then try and do some consecutive days. I know it's difficult with time and it's very difficult, but definitely try to build it up, and building it up is the trick. anyone who runs marathons or does, I suppose, distance, any kind of distance competition or exercise or routes or hiking or whatever it is, will tell you that, you know, you got to build up your distance, you got to build up your strength each time you go out. So if I go out tomorrow and walk a kilometer, the next day I'm going to go out and walk 2. And you know yourself what you're capable of. Start at that point and then work it up. We've all heard of the couch to 5K and things like that, and it's building up to that point. I also recommend definitely carrying back a backpack all the time with maybe a bit of extra weight, throw a few bottles of water in there. So when you're walking the Camino, it's going to feel like you have a feather on your back, but it also helps build up your strength. Gear is very important when you're doing your fitness training and when you're doing any kind of walking routes. Just make sure you have the right gear. The outdoor stores who are local to you, they're great at giving advice of what to wear for what kind of challenge you are doing. So that's really it. A lot of information on our website. So yeah, there's a couple of questions again come up on the side there. So I'm gonna do that quickly before we finish up. So there's one question there. Does the assistance phone, the 24-hour assistance phone, arrange a pickup en route if you get ill or hurt? So yeah, we're based in Dublin, Ireland. Most of our team are. We do have some teams based in Spain. But if you call us, we will tell you to call the local emergency services if you've been hurt or if you're ill. And they're the best people, the quickest people, the people who will get to you the fastest, the people who will look after you the best. What's really important is that you have very good and adequate travel insurance. Travel insurance usually costs around 20 or 30 euros. Not sure how much in the States, but I'm sure it's around the same in the equivalent in dollars. And it will cover you for everything. Like it's amazing. It'll repatriate you to your own country if that's needed. So have very good travel insurance, carry the local emergency numbers, which we do provide. And if you're hurt en route, that's who you call. They're the best placed people to look after you. Another question there, do we provide airport transfer from Porto to Tui or Vigo? We don't actually work the route from Tui anymore. That's what's known as the Portuguese Central Way. Over the years and since COVID, we found that the services on this route have just declined a lot. It's become quite industrial. So we've decided not to provide that route anymore. We do provide the Portuguese Coastal Way, which is from Porto up to Vigo and then to Santiago. And yes, we do provide airport transfers from any airport that services the Camino on any route. So whether that's Santiago de Compostela, Porto, Lisbon, San Sebastian, Bilbao, wherever you're flying into, Biarritz, if you're doing a start in Saint Jean Pied de Port, we will provide airport transfer. Question there, what if the hostel's booked through you, then change their mind how fast and slow? Well, we don't book hostels, number one, we only book hotels. If you book with us, you are on the set itinerary, I'm afraid. You've got to get to the next point. If for some reason you feel you can't get to the next point, there's lots of little places en route, which like cafes and, as I said, hostels, you can pop in there. They always have local taxi numbers available, and you can hop into one of them. They'll bring you to the next place. Do we communicate? There's another question. Do we communicate via phone or WhatsApp or other Wi-Fi based network? I mean, yeah, there's so many ways to communicate these ways, and we communicate with them all. So email, phone, WhatsApp. You can WhatsApp the assistance number as well, and will be answered. Sometimes it is busy. It may take a little bit of time to get back to you, but generally we always come back. And if there's something going on, we'll get back and tell you that, we'll come back to you within a certain period of time. WhatsApp can be the best, to be honest with you. A lot of people are used to communicating that way. There's Wi-Fi available pretty much all over. You're going to Spain, there's 4G networks all over there. If you link into the local networks, you can, and all the hotels will have Wi-Fi as well. Another question is how best to train for a hike over the Pyrenees climb. Is build it up, find some steep slopes, walk up and down them, increase your daily tally of exercise. I'm not saying you go out every day, but every day go out, try and do something more. Definitely find a hill to go up and down. It is a tough day, 26 kilometers, a good increase and actually a good decline as well into Roncesvalles, which can be as tough. And so just build up your exercise and get going. Even if you're 3 months out, now's the time to get out and going. If you're 3 weeks out, even now's the time to get out and going, because any exercise that you build up now will stand to you when it comes to walking the Camino. Do we provide notes for a self-guided tour? Yes, we do. They're all online now. So once when the tour is fully paid, you will get access to all the tour notes, all the tour information. They are limited because lots of people ask for walking notes, and like in the past, we used to supply things like after walking a mile, you get to a crossroads, turn left. Frankly, there are so many crossroads of what can be perceived to be a mile that it's pretty much impossible to walk while using walking oats. A lot of people threw them away. A lot of people get out about them. So we're looking at other ways of doing this, but we do have mapping as well, which is available online. So you'll have a map to your route. We do have limited walking notes. They're all online as well. Also, it's not bad to buy one of the guidebooks as well to bring with you. So there's lots of options there, but the Camino is incredibly well signposted with the yellow arrows and signposts everywhere, and also other people walking the route. Just don't follow a local because they might not be going on the route, which happened to my wife once, and she spent half a day going the wrong way. So what's the weather like for the last part of May from Sarri Santiago? That's pretty much impossible to say these days because the weather is so hard to predict these days. But what I can say is what the average weather is. So last part of May, you're probably talking about anywhere between 25, 26 degrees. Shouldn't be any more like that. Yes, you should expect some rain. So it's going to be warm, possibly wet. That's pretty much all I can say. Now, it might be incredibly warm based on what's been going on in most recent history, or it could be very cold and very wet. It might even be snowing. You just don't know what the weather's going to do these days. But on average, it should be around 25 degrees centigrade and possibly with a bit of rain. I always say to people, pack a poncho, something you can whip out quickly, get over you. So it keeps you dry. And then, when it rains there, it's quick and hard and usually in the morning. So travel insurance premiums in the States are usually 5 to 10% of cost of your trip. To be honest with you, I'm not sure if I don't know the industry in the States. I know the industry in Europe. It's very cheap for very good travel insurance. My advice is to shop around. A good global travel insurance company will be World Nomads. We actually recommend them. We've no contact with them. We've no mutual arrangement with them. We just think they're very good. They do have an age limit, so just keep an eye on that. But there are other travel insurers, but please do not travel without travel insurance. It is so worthwhile. I've had experience with it myself, and I've seen it save lives. I've seen it save people an awful lot of heartache, pain, and expense in the extreme. So, no matter what it costs, buy it. That is my advice. When you say the Portuguese coastal route is not well marked, I didn't say that, I'm afraid. I said it was very well marked. I said the Portuguese coastal route, all the routes are very much well marked and very easy to follow. But that's not to say you're going to have every 10 feet something to tell you where to go. But like you're walking a trail that a lot of people walk. There are other walkers. There are usually signposts and arrows when you get to a point where you need to see them and trust them. I always say to people, if you feel you're lost, you probably are, turn around, go back to a point of where you weren't lost, and just reassess the situation, or find somebody who looks like they know what they're doing or where they're going, and have a chat with them. And that's we have thousands of people walking the Camino, and very rarely hear of people getting lost. Can I make my own way from the airport to Sarri, or do you have a coach? How much approximately? So yes, and yes. You can absolutely make your own way from the airport to Sarri. There are public buses that take you there. You can get a private taxi, or we can pick you up and transfer you. It's a private transfer. It's not, you don't hop in a coach with lots of other people. It is a private car, depending on the size of your group, that will take you there. Average cost for a car for people is €160, just to give you an idea. What's the biggest difference between the different classes of hotels? It's got lots of questions coming, guys. I'm not going to get to them all, but
I've replied to a few of them with links. I'd say the next one for you is, how do you find the start of a route each morning? Could it be on the other end of the city?
Yeah, really good question, actually. That's talking about getting lost. I usually get lost when you're in the cities because, you're walking into a city or a large town. For them, the Camino, they're normal working towns. So some of them will have arrows within the town, some don't. So it's really about acquainting yourself with where you need to go, and there is information about the route you need to take out to get back to the point where you're specifically on the route. It's definitely something worth kind of researching before you start in the morning, especially if you're walking from a major town or city. But you will find there are arrows. You will find there's other people walking with backpacks, and but it is, I find, in the morning is the time that you will get lost if you're going to get lost.
Another one, did you say the TUI part of the trail was industrial?
Yeah, it's becoming. I didn't. Yeah, it's something we have made a decision not to provide it anymore because it has become quite built up, and there are parts of it that I wouldn't say the whole thing has become industrial. It has not. That would be wrong to say. What is right to say that there has been some development and industry built up in that area, and also some of the hotels have closed down and not reopened. They closed down over COVID and they have not reopened. So it makes providing a proper service for us difficult. The route still works absolutely fine. There are still hostels on the route. There are still hotels on the route. So if you do wish to walk it, absolutely no problem. Go ahead, but unfortunately, we don't do it anymore.
Okay. And the last question, as our time is unfortunately running out, is there any comments about pickpocketing on the route?
Like every city is notorious. Every city has a bad element. When you're walking en route, I've never heard it happening. We've transported tens of thousands of bags. We've had tens of thousands of people on the Camino. No one's ever come back to me and said they were pickpocketed. That's not to say they haven't. Cities, just be aware of your surroundings, where you are and who's around you, what you are carrying on yourself and where you are carrying it, and always be safe. Some cities in Spain have a dreadful reputation for pickpocketing, but that's mainly in Madrid and Barcelona. Just Santiago is a stunningly safe city from my experience and from people have told me. It's full of pilgrims. It's also quite full of students because it's a university city. It's a very friendly city and feels very safe. So, but please be aware of where you are and who's around you and where you're carrying your important stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I see there are still a few questions coming in, but unfortunately we are about to run out of time, but we have our website, which I've put the link in. We have our email, info@CaminoWays.com, and all the social media platforms are manned every day. So you can, please do send your questions if you have them, but if only this could be longer, but unfortunately it can't. But thank you all so much for coming to today's webinar. It's great to have one, first one of the new year. And yeah, we're always here if you have questions, and we would hope to see you at the next one as well. Also, this is recorded, so if you've missed anything and you want to watch it back, it will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow.
Yep. Thank you, everyone, very much for joining us. And I wish you a buen camino, as I say, good camino, and excellent trips and getting fit as well. It's always good to do, whether you're doing the Camino or not. So enjoy, and we shall hopefully see you soon en route.
Yeah. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.